Nintendo is a company at the forefront of gaming, with its current console, the Nintendo Switch, potentially on its way to becoming the best-selling console of all time. But how exactly did they get there? Well, to find out, we've got to go back, way back, in this, the first episode of the Nintendo Historia. The Nintendo company first began life in 1889, but before we start looking at Nintendo's origins, we first need to go even further back, to the 1500s. This is around the time that Japan was first introduced to playing cards, through their dealings with Europe and specifically Portuguese sailors. The Portuguese sailors would play with paper cards called carta, which the Japanese people pronounce as garota, what with their language not really having any C's. Wait a second. If there's no seas, then how did the sailors get there?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
During the 1500s, these card games gained massive amounts of popularity in Japan. But at the beginning of the 1600s, the government started to worry about the influence of Western culture and so shut down all of the country's borders, and from 1603 to 1868 closed themselves off from the rest of the world. All Western entertainment was banned, including card games, and all the Japanese people who had adopted the Western beliefs of Christianity were killed. This is getting pretty dark for a Nintendo video. So the Japanese people fought back and found a loophole in the government's rules by tweaking the cards a little bit. They added illustrations and removed the numbers from the cards, changing them to the 12 months of the year, as well as removing the suits by changing them to the 4 seasons. These new cards were called Hanafuda cards, which means flower cards. But more importantly, these were no longer Western cards, they were Japanese cards. Which worked for all of about 5 minutes, before the government would then ban these cards as well. But people just kept playing these games in secret until the Meiji Revolution in 1868, when borders were reopened, and in 1885 Hanafuda cards were finally unbanned. As a result, a load of people began freely producing Hanafuda cards, including one 30-year-old man called Hiroshi Yamauchi, who built a small wooden stand in the Ohashi area in Kyoto and used the stand as both a shop and workshop where he produced and sold cards. He named the shop Yamauchi Nintendo and opened the shop for the first time on the 23rd of September 1889. He and his employees manufactured the cards in the traditional way, using the bark from blackberry bushes and combining that with several layers of clay and paper, before then printing the illustrations on top. Most of the cards produced were deemed of too low quality due to them being handmade and so were destroyed, with only the best cards actually getting sold. And as you can imagine, this made the final product pretty expensive. The packs of cards were labelled President and contained illustrations of the first President of the United States, Napoleon Bonaparte. Yamauchi confused George Washington and Napoleon, and that's why to this day Nintendo Hanafuda cards have Napoleon's face on them. What with the cards being expensive and people only needing to buy the cards once, business began to dry up pretty quickly for Nintendo. But Hiroshi Yamauchi had the solution. Instead of simply destroying most of the cards he made, he'd keep them and make them into a cheaper set called Tengu cards. And soon after, Nintendo started to see a lot of growth when a deal was struck with 70 gambling rooms who would use around 50 packs each day, which quickly made Nintendo the #1 distributor of cards in all of Japan. But it wouldn't take long for Nintendo to have more competition on its hands, as at the turn of the century, imported Western playing cards were gaining popularity. So Nintendo started making their own Western style playing cards, and produced them super cheaply, only requiring a few sheets of paper for their manufacture. And soon enough, Nintendo had become the first Japanese producer of Western playing cards, which were called trumps. And you can easily tell if you have a Nintendo set of playing cards because they all proudly show the Nintendo logo on the Ace of Spades card. So all of this was going pretty well until 1907, when Hanafuda cards began being taxed heavily by the Japanese government to fund a war with Russia. Luckily, Nintendo having a monopoly on Western playing cards allowed them to still be profitable. Western playing cards would eventually be taxed in Japan, but not until 1957, and these cards would come with a stamp to show that tax had been paid. In the 1920s, Nintendo expanded further and started distributing their playing cards nationwide and became the most prominent card distributor in all of Japan. In 1929, Fusajiro Yamauchi was getting quite old and so gave his company to his son-in-law, Sekiryo. During World War II, Nintendo stayed in business by creating packs of propaganda cards for schools. Then after World War II, people didn't really have the money or want for playing cards. As such, Nintendo began exporting their cards abroad to countries who won the war and were in a position of prosperity. But they weren't really interested in cards either. More misfortune would befall the Nintendo company when in 1949 Sekiro Yamauchi became seriously ill and his grandson Hiroshi had to take over as managing director at only 22 years old. The employees at Nintendo didn't like him, they just thought he was some rich spoilt brat, and soon strikes would ensue and even hunger strikes. It was starting to look like this might be the end of Nintendo. But then in 1953, Nintendo would invent something that would change their misfortune around. Plastic cards, which wouldn't get dirty or easily tear. These were twice as expensive as regular packs, but that didn't stop them from being incredibly successful. But that's not all, as Nintendo would find even bigger success in 1959 when Nintendo would negotiate with a little company called Disney to acquire the rights to sell Disney themed cards. These cards would have designs featuring Disney characters on the back, and Jiminy Cricket would be on the Joker. Nintendo would go all out on this deal, even producing their first TV advertisements. And unsurprisingly, these cards were incredibly successful. Nintendo found that whilst a family would usually only buy one pack of cards, children would often buy many, collecting all the different designs, which only brought Nintendo even more success, leading to them monopolising 80% of the playing card market in Japan. During their run, Nintendo made over 100 different Disney card sets. And Disney was far from the only company Nintendo would have dealings with. Other companies would commission Nintendo to make promotional playing cards for them too. Japanese airlines, Toshiba, Sharp, Johnny Walker, Suntory Whiskey all had Nintendo cards made for them. Nintendo began branching out even further and producing e-hon cards, which contained licensed characters telling parts of a story on each card, and the packs were in the shape of a television. There were also round cards, square cards, magic sets, shaman trump cards that would produce a pattern when fanned out, cards that allowed you to cheat using special glasses, adult cards, wait, what? Yeah, that's right. Nintendo made adult cards. But for the life of me, and months of searching, I couldn't get my hands on a pack. They're way too rare. The only Nintendo set that I could find any information about was this pin-up set, in which, when you opened them, all of the woman's clothes would fall off. Very classy stuff. But remember those promotional packs Nintendo made for other companies? Well, they made an adult set for Suntory Whiskey, and I did get my clammy hands on those. So these are actual cards produced by Nintendo. Obviously I can't show you the actual cards, you'll have to join my OnlyFans for that. And I don't know if Nintendo took these pictures themselves, but they are pretty explicit. Although, comparing these images to the ones for Nintendo's pin-up cards, I can confirm that they are definitely the same. So these are the ones Nintendo used for a lot of their cards, and presumably did take themselves. All these women must be in their 80s or 90s now. Whoa, geez, that one leaves nothing to the imagination, does it? I'll just, save these for later. Despite Nintendo flying high, it didn't take long for playing cards to fall in popularity. And in 1964, just before the Japanese Olympic Games, card sales fell overnight. Nintendo's Disney Sport range made to promote the Olympics just weren't selling. Kids had grown tired of card games. Nintendo began adding playing guides to their Disney cards to teach people how to play to try and boost sales, but it didn't work. Japanese people were hyped by the Olympics and spending more time outside and playing sport and just not buying playing cards. So Nintendo once again tried exporting their cards abroad, to places like America and the UK, such as these Beatle cards, but soon gave up when the cards weren't very successful. So, Hiroshi Yamauchi took a trip to America to visit the US Playing Card Company, the world's biggest manufacturer of playing cards, and there he had a revelation. This place is shit. It was neither bigger nor more productive than his own company. The playing card market just wasn't all that big. And so he went back to Japan and told this to his employees. Products from the entertainment industry are unfortunately not indispensable. The playing card market may one day collapse and give way to more entertaining products. This is why I wish to diversify Nintendo's activities towards more secure, more useful and more promising markets. Hanafuda cards are still produced by Nintendo today and have featured in a few of their games, most recently being one of the 51 Clubhouse games. And they still produce 3 different sets in Japan, as well as the occasional novelty packs such as the Mario ones. So that's Nintendo's history with playing cards. In episode 2 we're going to take a look at just what Yamauchi Hiroshi meant when he said he wanted to diversify Nintendo's activities. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.